Have you ever stopped in the middle of your day, looked at your life from the outside, and quietly wondered, who am I, really? Not the name you carry, not the role you perform, not the personality you show to the world. I mean the deeper question, the one that feels older than your memories. Who am I? Why was I created? And among all the layers inside me, which part is the one that is truly real? These are not simple questions. They are the kind that appear in moments when everything becomes quiet. They show up when life slows down, when you find yourself alone with your thoughts, or when you feel something stirring inside your chest that you cannot fully explain. These questions do not speak to your mind alone. They come from a deeper place, from a quiet inner voice that whispers beneath your emotions and your responsibilities. It is the voice that calls you back to yourself. If you have ever felt that whisper, then you already know something important. There is more to you than what you see in the mirror. You sense it when you feel joy. You sense it when you feel restless. You sense it when your life seems full on the outside but strangely empty on the inside. There is a part of you that is always searching for clarity, always reaching for meaning, always longing to understand what you truly are. To begin this journey, imagine for a moment that your existence is built like a house with 3 levels. On the outside, there is your body, the part of you that interacts with the world, the part everyone sees. Beneath that is your soul, the place where your thoughts, your emotions, and your choices live. And deeper still, at the very core of who you are, lies your spirit, the innermost chamber that connects you to something greater than yourself. These 3 layers are present in every human being, yet most of us walk through life without understanding how they work together, and because we do not understand them, we get lost inside ourselves. We experience moments when our emotions take control. We face seasons when our thoughts run in circles. We battle desires that pull us in opposite directions. So much of our confusion and pain comes from not knowing which part of us is speaking, which part is leading, and which part is being ignored. Picture it this way. If your body is the outer shell, then your soul is the place where your personal story unfolds. But your spirit, that is the part that holds eternity. When you do not know how these parts work together, life becomes a mystery filled with frustration. You try to fix the wrong things. You nurture the wrong parts. You listen to the loudest voice instead of the most important one. But here is the promise that makes this exploration worth your time. When you understand your soul and your spirit, you begin to understand yourself. You begin to understand your wounds, your desires, your strengths, and even your purpose. You begin to see why certain struggles repeat themselves. You begin to recognize the deep longing that no achievement, no relationship, and no success has ever been able to erase. In this journey, you and I will open the scriptures and walk through the truths that have guided people for thousands of years. We will look into the inner design of the human being, not as science defines it, but as the ancient texts describe it, as experience reveals it, and as countless lives have testified to it. We will explore real stories, real emotions, and real transformations. By the end of this journey, you will not just understand the difference between your soul and your spirit. You will feel the difference. You will recognize it inside yourself. Before we go deeper, let me share a short story with you. It is a story that mirrors the lives of so many people today. There was once a man who had everything people usually chase. He had success, wealth, influence, and opportunities. His life looked full from the outside. People admired him. His achievements impressed others. His schedule was packed, his home was beautiful, and his reputation was strong. But when he was alone, in the quiet hours of the night, he felt something he could not ignore. It was a heaviness, a sense of emptiness that no accomplishment could silence. He tried to fill it with entertainment, with work, with new goals, and even with relationships. For a moment, those things distracted him. But the emptiness always returned, heavier than before. One evening, he sat in his living room after another long day of performing, achieving, and pretending that everything was fine. He stared at the ceiling and whispered to himself, "Why do I feel so empty when I have so much?" And in that moment of honesty, he realized something profound. He had spent his entire life feeding his body and feeding his soul, but he had ignored his spirit. The deepest part of him had been starving, quietly waiting, quietly calling, quietly longing to be awakened. His story is not rare. It is the story of millions of people who appear complete but feel incomplete. And it is the perfect gateway into our first major step. Because before you can understand your soul or your spirit, you must understand the part of you that stands on the outside. You must understand your body, the temple that holds everything within it. And that is exactly where we are going next. When you think about who you are, the very first thing that usually comes to mind is the physical shape you carry through this world. Your height, your face, your voice, the way you walk, the way you move. It is the most visible part of you, the part people meet before they ever hear a single word from your mind or feel a single emotion from your heart. But if we pause long enough to look at the body with honesty, something becomes clear very quickly. The body is not you. It is the house you live in. Imagine arriving in a new city and renting a small room for a season. The room has walls, windows, and furniture, but none of it defines who you are. It is simply the place where you stay while you carry out your work and your purpose. That is the body. Or picture slipping on a heavy winter coat when the air turns cold. The coat protects you, covers you, and keeps you safe, but no one would ever confuse the coat with the person wearing it. That is the body. Or think of a hotel room you occupy during a business trip. You sleep there, you shower there, you leave your belongings there, but it is not home. It is not your identity. It is just the temporary space that holds you for a little while. That, again, is the body. Your body is wonderfully designed, incredibly complex, and deeply important. But it remains a temporary shell. Through your senses, it absorbs information from the world around you. Through your instincts, it responds to danger and to comfort. Through your physical needs, it pushes you to eat, sleep, breathe, and move. In many ways, the body allows you to interact with reality. It lets you taste sweetness, feel warmth, hear music, and hold the hand of someone you love. It is a vessel that gives you the ability to experience life. But even in its beauty, the body is limited. It feels pain. It grows tired. It becomes hungry. It weakens. It changes with time. And one day, it returns to the dust from which it came. The scriptures speak clearly about this truth. They remind us that the body is not a permanent home. It is not a container meant for eternity. It is a part of us that carries an expiration date. From the very beginning, the ancient texts declare that this physical frame will eventually return to the ground. The body was never designed to last forever, and it was never meant to hold the weight of your eternal identity. When you understand that, you begin to look at your physical self with a different kind of humility. You appreciate it, you care for it, you honor it, but you no longer confuse it with your essence. You no longer build your entire life upon something that is fading with each passing day. And yet, even though the scriptures highlight the temporary nature of the body, they also emphasize something equally important. The body has a purpose. It is not meaningless. It is not disposable. It is a temple, a vessel, a container through which your soul and your spirit express themselves in the physical world. Without your body, you could not speak. Without your body, you could not act. Without your body, you could not embrace the people you love or carry out the mission you were born to fulfill. Now, let us step for a moment into the view that modern science offers. Science focuses on the physical structure, on cells and organs, on muscles and bones, and especially on the brain. To science, the brain is a cluster of neurons sending electrical signals that create sensations, reactions, and patterns. It is a physical organ, just like the heart or the lungs, even though it is far more complex. But here is the remarkable thing. Even science cannot explain the inner I, the part of you that is aware you are alive. The brain can send signals, but the brain is not the one who experiences those signals. The brain processes information, but the brain is not the inner witness who says, "This is me." Wilfried, there is a profound difference between the organ that receives information and the consciousness that observes it. The body belongs to you, but it is not you. The brain is inside you, but it is not the one who sits behind your thoughts. Science can describe the machinery, but not the driver. It can describe the house, but not the guest who lives inside. And this is where many people make a painful mistake. They look at their physical self and believe that is all they are. They think their value is found in their appearance, their strength, their age, or their ability to attract admiration. They chase beauty, status, pleasure, and physical comfort because they believe these things define their worth. They pour all their attention into shaping the body, decorating the body, pleasing the body, or displaying the body, while completely forgetting the deeper levels of themselves. But when the body becomes the center of your identity, something tragic always happens. No matter how much you try to feed it, it never stops demanding more. It gets tired, it grows older, it changes, it fails. And when it fails, people often feel lost because their identity was tied to something that could not hold them. They find themselves exhausted from the endless pursuit of appearance. They feel empty even in moments of pleasure. They lose control when cravings take over. They chase comfort but feel no peace. And in the silence that follows, they realize the truth. The body was never meant to be the master. Many people reach this realization only after they have pushed their bodies to the edge. They discover it when their health breaks down, when stress collapses their energy, or when constant pleasure-seeking leads them into deeper emptiness. The body can be a wonderful servant, but it becomes a terrible king. When you place the weight of your identity upon the body, you begin to live for things that fade. You build your purpose upon something that is temporary, and sooner or later, the temporary reveals its limitations. That is why people can look beautiful, successful, and admired, yet still feel empty inside. They have taken care of the shell while forgetting the guest. But here is where everything begins to shift. The moment you understand that the body is only the outer layer, the moment you realize it is the surface and not the substance, you take a step toward real self-understanding. You begin to ask deeper questions. If the body is just the exterior, then who is living inside it? If the body is the house, then who is the occupant? If the body is the vessel, then who is steering it? Who is making the decisions? Who is feeling the emotions? Who is longing for meaning? Think about that question for a moment. If your body is the visible part of you, then what lies beneath it? Who is the one thinking your thoughts? Who is the one feeling your sadness or your joy? Who is the one choosing between right and wrong, between wisdom and impulse, between peace and chaos? The answer to that question leads us straight into the next layer of your being, the layer that shapes your personality, your preferences, your reactions, your memories, and your choices. It is the part of you that forms stories, that holds wounds, that forms desires, that interprets the world, and that responds to life in ways that no one else can fully understand. If the body is the house, then the soul is the person standing in the hallway, holding all the keys, deciding what happens next. And that is exactly where this journey takes us. We are stepping from the outer walls into the inner room. We are moving from the physical to the personal. We are going from the question of, what am I made of, to the question of, who am I inside this shell? Begensert. And so, as we leave the doorway of the body behind, we step into the deeper layer of your existence. We begin to explore the soul. When we step past the boundaries of the body, we enter a deeper and far more personal place. It is the place where your thoughts form, where your feelings rise and fall, and where your choices take shape long before they become actions. This inner space is your soul. In the scriptures, the soul is described as the realm of the mind, the will, and the emotions. If the body is the house you live in, then the soul is the control room inside that house, the place where decisions are made, where memories are stored, and where interpretations of the world are formed. Think about the soul as the center where all the signals from your life come together. Your senses bring in information from the outside world. Your experiences shape your memories. Your beliefs influence the way you interpret what is happening around you. And your emotions color everything with intensity, meaning, and depth. In this control room, nothing is neutral. Every thought you have, every feeling that rises, every decision you make, begins somewhere inside this territory. To understand your soul, you first need to understand the three layers that shape it. The mind, the emotions, and the will work together like three interconnected rooms inside the same space, each playing a crucial role, each deeply influencing the path of your life. The mind is where your logic lives. It is the place where you think, analyze, question, and make sense of your circumstances. It holds your knowledge, your memories, and your beliefs. The mind can take you backward into the past through recollection, and it can take you forward into the future through imagination. Everything you have seen, heard, or learned passes through this room. Your memories shape the way you perceive danger, the way you interpret love, and the way you trust people. Your beliefs shape the meaning you attach to your experiences. Your logic helps you connect the pieces, but even the most logical mind can be influenced by emotion or wounded by memory. The emotions form another room inside the soul. They are powerful, unpredictable, and deeply human. Through your emotions, you feel joy, sadness, anger, peace, excitement, fear, longing, and love. Emotions can rise like a wave without warning. They can color your vision of a situation so strongly that logic becomes quiet in comparison. They can create warmth that strengthens relationships, and they can create storms that damage them. Your emotions are what make you laugh, what make you cry, and what make you respond with tenderness, compassion, or passion. Without emotions, life would feel flat and mechanical, but with emotions, life becomes rich, textured, and deeply complex. Then there is the will, the part of you that chooses. The will is the doorway through which every decision walks. You can have a logical thought and a strong emotion, but nothing becomes action until the will opens the door. The will decides whether to say yes or no, whether to stand up or walk away, whether to follow wisdom or surrender to impulse. Your will shapes the direction of your life. It is the part of you that steers the story you are living, and yet, the will is often pulled in different directions by both the mind and the emotions. When you look at these three layers together, you start to understand why the soul is so powerful and so complicated. The mind holds your reasons, the emotions hold your intensity, the will holds your choices, and all three interact constantly, influencing one another, pulling and pushing, cooperating and conflicting. Because the soul carries so much power, it is often compared to a strong, spirited horse. A horse can be graceful, it can be beautiful, it can run with incredible speed and strength. But without a rider, a horse can also run wild. It can wander into danger, it can react out of fear, it can trample things without meaning to. That is exactly what the soul is like. It is full of passion, energy, memory, desire, and instinct. But without guidance, it can easily run out of control. Your emotions can pull you toward decisions that feel right in the moment but lead to regret later. A single burst of anger can damage relationships you spent years building. A wave of fear can stop you from pursuing something that could have changed your life. A moment of loneliness can convince you to cling to something unhealthy. Emotions are strong, but strength does not always equal truth. Your memories, especially the painful ones, can shape your choices in ways you do not always see. Old wounds can whisper lies about your worth. Past failures can hold you back from new opportunities. Childhood experiences can stay hidden beneath the surface, but continue to influence your reactions as an adult. The soul remembers what the body forgets, and those memories can become invisible ropes that tie you down or invisible storms that stir inside you. Your will can be stubborn, and sometimes it chooses what is familiar over what is good. It can choose comfort over growth. It can choose pleasure over wisdom. It can choose independence even when you know deep inside that it leads to isolation. The will is powerful, but it can also resist what is right and cling to what is destructive. Modern psychology helps shed light on why the soul behaves this way. Deep within you lies the ego, the part of your identity that tries to protect you, present you, and make sense of the world. There is also the subconscious, the quiet room beneath your awareness where old experiences, fears, and patterns hide. Much of what you do is influenced by memories you do not consciously think about. Events from childhood can shape the way you react today. A single comment you heard when you were young can continue to affect your confidence decades later. Psychology explains why emotions can overpower logic so easily. Logic moves slowly and carefully. Emotions move quickly and forcefully. When something triggers you, the emotional response arrives long before the logical explanation has time to appear. You act, speak, and react before your mind has a chance to evaluate what is truly happening. This is why people often say things they regret, make choices they would not normally make, or react in ways that do not reflect who they want to be. And perhaps the most fascinating part of the soul is this: human beings constantly contradict themselves. You can want two opposite things at the same time. You can long for change but cling to old habits. You can desire love but fear vulnerability. You can pursue success but sabotage yourself out of unseen insecurity. This inner conflict is not a flaw in your design. It is the nature of a soul trying to navigate the world without a deeper anchor, without guidance from the part of you that lies beyond thought, beyond emotion, and beyond will. This brings us to the doorway of the next section. If your soul is the strong, powerful, emotional horse, then the question becomes, who is holding the reins? Who is guiding the horse? Who is steadying it, calming it, or directing it toward truth and peace? To answer that question, we must step further inward. We must leave the territory of the soul behind and enter the deepest chamber of your existence, the place where meaning, purpose, and eternity meet. But before we walk there, we will continue unfolding the soul in the next section. When we look at the soul through the lens of Scripture, the picture becomes even clearer. In the beginning, when Adam and Eve walked in perfect relationship with their Creator, their spirit was alive and fully connected. Their soul followed the guidance of that spirit, and their body followed the direction of the soul. Everything moved in harmony. Their thoughts were clear, their emotions were steady, their decisions aligned with truth. There was no division inside them, no conflict between what they felt and what they knew. They lived from the inside out, led by the deepest and most sacred part of who they were. But when they chose independence, something tragic occurred. In the moment they reached for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the connection between their spirit and God was severed. Their spirit did not disappear, but it lost its guiding light. It lost the voice it was meant to follow. And when the spirit lost its leadership, the soul stepped into the role it was never designed to carry alone. The soul, with all its emotions, memories, instincts, and desires, became the driver of the human experience. And without the spirit leading it, the soul quickly became overwhelmed. The mind began to reason without truth. The emotions began to react without peace. The will began to choose without wisdom. The harmony that once existed fractured, and inner chaos replaced inner clarity. Humanity has been living in that condition ever since. A soul trying to lead itself is like a ship without a compass or a horse running without a rider. It moves, but it does not know where it is going. It feels deeply, but it does not know what those feelings mean. It chooses, but it does not know if the choice will heal or harm. And in that confusion, the soul becomes exhausted. This exhaustion is one of the great struggles of the modern world. Although technology has advanced, lifestyles have changed, and knowledge has expanded, the human soul still carries the same wounds. Anxiety rises like a storm that never fully settles. Stress presses on the mind and the heart until simple tasks feel heavy. People feel empty even when their schedules are full. Many find themselves sabotaging their own progress, repeating harmful patterns even when they desperately want to change. These modern symptoms are not signs of weakness. They are signs of overload. When the soul is forced to carry the weight of life without the guidance of the spirit, it becomes overwhelmed. Anxiety is often the mind trying to control what it cannot understand. Stress is the will trying to manage what it was never meant to handle alone. Emptiness is the heart longing for something deeper than emotion. Self-sabotage is the result of hidden wounds directing choices from the shadows. The soul was never created to be the master. It was created to respond, to interpret, to feel, and to choose, but not to lead. When it tries to become the leader, everything inside becomes heavier. The soul becomes a battlefield where thoughts collide, emotions clash, and desires pull in opposite directions. People describe this as being torn inside, being confused, or feeling lost. But the truth is simpler. The soul is trying to do a job that only the spirit can do. And this brings us to one of the most important turning points in our journey. If the soul is wounded, who can heal it? If the soul is overwhelmed, who can bring peace to it? If the soul is the powerful horse, full of strength and emotion, then who is the rider meant to guide it, calm it, and lead it toward truth? This question is the doorway to the deepest part of who you are. It is the emotional pause before revelation. It is the moment when the noise of the soul quiets just enough for you to sense that something beyond it is calling. The soul is real, powerful, and essential, but it is not the end of the story. It is not the deepest part of you. To understand who you truly are, we must step beyond the soul and into the sacred chamber within you, the chamber that carries the breath of God, the chamber that holds eternity. Now we move toward the spirit. When we move past the noise of the soul, we reach the deepest and most sacred part of the human being. This inner chamber is the spirit. It is the place that does not shout like emotions, does not argue like thoughts, and does not wrestle like the will. Instead, it is quiet, steady, and eternal. It is the part of you that existed in the mind of God long before your body took shape and long before your first memory formed. The spirit is not made of emotion or personality. It is not shaped by your habits or your history. It is the breath of life placed within you. When the scriptures describe the creation of humanity, they paint a simple and profound picture. The human body was formed from the dust, but it did not become a living being until God breathed into it. That breath was not merely oxygen or air. It was spirit. It was the invisible life that activates every deeper part of you. From that moment, the spirit became the core of identity, the center of connection, and the place where eternity touches time. Because of that origin, the spirit is fundamentally different from the soul. The soul can feel joy or sadness. The spirit does not operate on feelings. The soul can develop tastes and preferences. The spirit does not form personality. The soul reacts to experiences. The spirit remains untouched by emotion and circumstance. Its nature is far quieter, far deeper, and far more unchanging. If you think of the soul as the control room of your inner world, then the spirit is the sanctuary beyond it. It is the place where human effort ends and divine presence begins. It is not driven by impulses. It is not moved by the storms of feeling. It is not shaped by your past. It is the eternal part of you, the part designed to commune with the God who breathed life into your being. But something happened to the spirit long ago, something that changed the human experience entirely. In the moment humanity chose independence from God, the spirit lost its connection to its source. It did not disappear, but it became dormant, like a lamp without oil or a seed buried in dry ground. The soul kept functioning, the body kept functioning, but the spirit no longer led the inner life. It no longer guided thoughts, no longer illuminated truth, and no longer carried the peace it once knew. This state is often called spiritual death, not because the spirit ceases to exist, but because it becomes disconnected from the very life that was meant to flow through it. A disconnected spirit cannot guide the soul. It cannot anchor the mind. It cannot bring rest to the emotions. In this state, the soul is forced to lead on its own, and as we have seen, the soul alone is easily overwhelmed. But the story does not end there. The scriptures describe another moment just as powerful as the moment of creation. They describe what happens when a person encounters God in a way that awakens the spirit again. This moment is often called being born again. It does not mean your body is reborn. It does not mean your soul becomes brand new overnight. It means your spirit, the deepest part of you, comes back to life. It reconnects to its source. It begins to hear, to sense, and to respond to the presence of God. Before this awakening, the spirit is silent. Afterward, it becomes alive. Before, it is like a lamp without flame. After, it begins to glow. Before, it cannot guide the soul. After, it begins to speak with a voice quieter than emotion but stronger than instinct. This change is not simply an idea or a belief. It is a transformation that reshapes the way a person experiences existence. A living spirit brings clarity where confusion once ruled, peace where anxiety once stirred, and purpose where emptiness once lingered. When the spirit is alive, it begins to work in ways that the soul could never imitate. One of the first things it does is create awareness of truth. Not the kind of truth that comes from facts or arguments, but truth that feels like recognition. It is the sense you have when something inside you quietly says, "This is real," even if your emotions disagree or your logic is unsure. The spirit recognizes what the soul struggles to understand. Another work of the spirit is presence. There are moments when people feel a stillness, a warmth, or an inner quiet that they cannot explain. It is not emotional excitement. It is not imagination. It is the spirit becoming aware of the God who is near. The soul may feel calm or overwhelmed, but the spirit experiences communion, and that communion creates unmistakable peace. The spirit also brings direction. While the soul debates options and wrestles with desires, the spirit gently leans toward what is good, what is true, and what aligns with the purpose placed deep within you. It does not force. It does not shout. It simply inclines you toward the path you were designed to walk. You may describe it as intuition, conviction, or an inner nudge, but beneath those words lies the work of the Spirit, and perhaps one of the most powerful works of the Spirit is connection. The Spirit does not simply reach upward toward God. It also reaches inward, touching the broken places within the soul. It is the Spirit that brings comfort to wounds the mind cannot explain. It is the Spirit that brings quiet to emotions that have become overwhelming. It is the spirit that strengthens the will when it feels weak. The spirit does not replace the soul, it restores it. This is the beginning of understanding the spirit, seeing it as the breath of God within you, the eternal part of your being, the quiet guide that leads the inner life when it is awakened. But there is still more to uncover, and in the next section, we will explore the deeper works of the spirit and how it transforms a life from the inside out. As we continue exploring the spirit, it becomes clear that this deepest part of you cannot be explained only through religious language. Even when we look at the world through a scientific or philosophical lens, we find clues that point toward something beyond the physical. Modern research into consciousness has uncovered mysteries that the human brain alone cannot explain. The brain is an organ. It processes information, stores memories, and coordinates movement, but it does not create the awareness that says, "I am here." Even some of the greatest scientific minds admit that consciousness does not fit neatly into biological explanations. It seems to originate from somewhere deeper than neurons and chemistry. Near-death experience studies, for example, have documented moments when people whose brains were not functioning still reported clear awareness, perception, and memory. Their physical senses had stopped, yet their consciousness remained awake. They described seeing, hearing, and understanding in ways that exceeded normal physical ability. Although interpretations vary, these experiences suggest something profound. The essence of a person is not contained inside the brain. It flows from a deeper place, a place that continues even when the body is silent. That deeper place is the spirit. Long before modern research existed, ancient thinkers wrestled with the same mystery. Plato described the soul and spirit as the immaterial essence of a person, something that existed before birth and continued after death. Aristotle believed there was a part of the human being that could not be reduced to physical elements, a part that reasoned and perceived beyond material limits. Eastern philosophy also speaks of a life force within every person, an inner spark that connects the human being to the divine and to the universe. Though each tradition uses different language, they all point toward the same truth. There is more inside you than flesh and thought. There is a depth that transcends biology, a part of you that does not age, weaken, or fade. That part is the spirit. But beyond theology, philosophy, or research, people recognize the spirit through experience. There are moments in life when something touches you so deeply that you know it did not come from your emotions. It is quieter, stronger, and clearer than anything you can manufacture within yourself. People describe it as a moment when God feels near, when a presence beyond words settles on them like a gentle weight. Sometimes it happens during prayer, sometimes in a moment of stillness, and sometimes in unexpected places. It is not emotional excitement. It is not imagination. It is a contact that feels like heaven leaning close. There are also moments when you feel an inner calling, something that does not come from desire or logic. It comes from deeper. You cannot explain it, yet you know it is real. You sense that you are being invited, guided, or drawn toward something greater than your own plans. This inner calling is the spirit awakening, recognizing the direction it was created to follow. The soul may feel fear or hesitation, but the spirit recognizes truth the moment it hears it. And then there is that unmistakable peace, the kind that does not feel like happiness or relief, but a steady inner stillness that rises from a place beyond emotion. Emotions can change in seconds. They rise and fall like waves. But the peace that comes from the spirit is different. It settles you. It centers you. It gives you strength, even when circumstances have not changed. People who have tasted this peace often describe it as a presence, a quiet anchor deep within. It is the spirit touching something eternal. These experiences reveal something the soul alone could never create. The soul can feel happy, but it cannot create eternal peace. The soul can imagine, but it cannot create divine presence. The soul can desire, but it cannot create spiritual calling. These things come from the spirit, and they awaken parts of you the soul cannot reach. Yet even with these moments of clarity, the soul and the spirit often pull in different directions. The soul is loud. It shouts through emotion, memory, and desire. It reacts quickly, sometimes impulsively, sometimes fearfully. When your soul feels threatened or overwhelmed, its voice becomes even louder. It demands attention. It demands comfort. It demands answers. It floods your inner world with noise, making it difficult to hear anything else. The spirit, in contrast, speaks quietly. It does not force itself into your awareness. It does not compete with the noise. It waits. It whispers. It nudges. The spirit leads through stillness, not through pressure. While the soul pulls you downward into worry, into fear, into old wounds, the spirit pulls you upward toward clarity, toward truth, and toward peace. This tension between the soul and the spirit is one of the most universal human experiences. Every person feels it whether or not they know how to describe it. You can feel the soul pulling you into anxiety while the spirit pulls you into trust. You can feel the soul pulling you into anger while the spirit pulls you into patience. You can feel the soul clinging to the past while the spirit invites you into something new. You can feel the soul reacting to circumstances while the spirit remains anchored in something unshakable. Inside every human heart, this quiet conflict plays out. It is the reason you sometimes feel torn between impulse and wisdom, between desire and purpose, between fear and faith. It is the inner drama that unfolds in moments when you know what is right, but you feel something else pulling you in another direction. This tension does not mean you are broken. It means your soul and your spirit are both alive, both speaking, both trying to lead. The question is not whether the soul or the spirit is present. Both are. The question is which one will guide your life. The soul reacts. The spirit reveals. The soul feels. The spirit knows. The soul struggles. The spirit anchors. And the more you learn to recognize the quiet voice of the spirit, the more you begin to live from a place of depth instead of emotion, from truth instead of impulse, and from eternity instead of circumstance. From here, we will move into the final chapter of this journey, where body, soul, and spirit come together, and where the true leadership of your inner life is revealed. When you look at the human being through the lens of body, soul, and spirit, a powerful image begins to appear. It is an image that helps explain why people feel torn inside, why decisions feel difficult, and why life sometimes feels heavier than it should. Imagine the body, the soul, and the spirit as three figures standing inside you, each one holding a different role. The body is the servant. It is designed to follow instructions, not to give them. It reacts to hunger, to exhaustion, to desire, and to physical need. It does not plan. It does not reflect. It simply responds. The body is the slave. The soul is the manager. It interprets, analyzes, decides, and reacts. It stands in the middle, taking information from both the body and the spirit. It is powerful, emotional, intelligent, and complex. But even with all its abilities, the soul is not meant to rule. It is meant to respond to leadership. The soul is the manager. And then there is the spirit. The spirit is the king. It is the part of you that carries eternity, the part that recognizes truth, the part that can hear God's whisper, and the part that finds peace even when circumstances refuse to change. The spirit was designed to lead the entire inner life. This was the original design. The spirit leads, the soul follows, the body obeys. But for many people, the order has been completely reversed. The wrong part is sitting on the throne. The body, the servant, begins to shout its demands through cravings, impulses, and desires. The soul hears those demands and tries to satisfy them, and the spirit, quiet and gentle, is pushed into the background. In this upside-down arrangement, the servant shouts, the manager panics, and the king is silenced. It is no surprise that life feels chaotic when the wrong part is giving orders. One of the reasons this happens is because the body speaks louder than the spirit. The body cries out through hunger, pain, fatigue, pleasure, and physical desire. Its voice is immediate. It demands attention. It wants to be satisfied now, not later. The soul, caught in the middle, often gives in because it does not want discomfort and it does not want conflict. The spirit, on the other hand, does not shout. It waits, it whispers, it leads through peace, not pressure. And when a person is not trained to recognize that whisper, the louder voices win. Another reason the wrong part takes over is the world we live in. Modern culture feeds the body and feeds the soul, but it starves the spirit. The world rewards appearance, achievement, pleasure, emotion, productivity, and entertainment. Everywhere you look, the message is the same. Satisfy your senses, chase your desires, express your emotions, follow your impulses, and trust your feelings. In a culture like this, the body becomes stronger, the soul becomes busier, and the spirit becomes quieter with each passing day. But when the body is fed and the spirit is neglected, the inner world becomes unbalanced. The soul ends up trying to please the body while carrying burdens it was never meant to lift. And sooner or later, the pressure becomes too much. The consequences of this upside-down order are everywhere. When the spirit does not lead, people struggle to see their purpose. Life becomes a cycle of routine and responsibility without meaning. You may wake up, go to work, take care of what needs to be done, but deep inside, a quiet question keeps rising. Why am I here? What is this all for? Without the spirit leading, purpose remains blurry. People also fall into existential crisis. They begin to question their identity. They compare themselves to others. They feel lost even when life is full. They feel restless even when surrounded by comfort. Something inside them knows they were made for more, but they do not know how to reach it. This inner crisis is not a flaw. It is the soul searching for the leadership of the spirit. And then there is the ache of emptiness. When the wrong part leads, people try to fill the void with all the wrong sources. They chase success to feel valuable. They chase relationships to feel whole. They chase pleasure to feel alive. They chase entertainment to avoid silence. But no matter how much they consume, the emptiness returns because the soul and the body cannot satisfy a hunger that belongs to the spirit. This is why the question, who is leading your inner life, is not philosophical. It is practical. It shapes everything. When the spirit does not lead, the soul becomes overwhelmed and the body becomes indulgent. When the spirit leads, everything finds its proper place. The soul becomes calm, the body becomes disciplined, and the entire inner life begins to move with harmony again. So how do you restore the spirit to its rightful place? It begins by feeding the spirit. Just as the body grows strong when it receives nourishment, and the soul becomes stable when it receives truth and healing, the spirit comes alive when it receives what it was made for. One of the ways this happens is through the word, the voice of truth that awakens the deepest part of you. When the spirit hears truth, it recognizes it instantly. Something inside you sits up, pays attention, and comes alive. Prayer is another source of nourishment, not the rushed words spoken from habit, but the honest moments when you turn inward and upward, inviting God to speak into your inner world. Prayer awakens the spirit because it reconnects you to the one who breathed life into you. Silence is also essential. The world is loud. The soul is loud. The body is loud, but the spirit speaks in stillness. When you create quiet, even for a moment, the spirit finds room to rise again. Worship strengthens the spirit as well, not just singing, but surrender, gratitude, and recognition of something greater than yourself. Worship lifts your inner life upward, realigning you with eternity, and obedience seals the process. When you follow the quiet nudge of the Spirit, even when your emotions disagree, the Spirit grows stronger. With each step of obedience, the Spirit reclaims the leadership it was designed to carry. When the Spirit becomes strong, everything else falls into place. The soul finds peace because it no longer has to lead. It no longer has to make every decision alone. It no longer has to carry every burden. The body becomes disciplined because it is no longer in charge. It no longer dictates your choices. It no longer pulls you where it wants to go. Under the leadership of the Spirit, you move with clarity, purpose, and balance. When you look at the whole picture, body, soul, and spirit form a three-layer design that explains the entire human experience. The body lets you interact with the world. The soul lets you interpret the world. But the spirit lets you understand your purpose within the world. Without the spirit, the soul becomes overwhelmed and the body becomes impulsive. With the spirit, the soul becomes steady and the body becomes obedient. This understanding prepares us for what comes next, because every part of the human being, body, soul, and spirit, leads us toward one final question. In the deepest part of your life, in the quietest part of your heart, who is truly ruling? Who is shaping your direction? Who is guiding your choices? As we move into the closing, we will bring all the pieces together and uncover what it means to live from the inside out, led not by impulse or emotion, but by the Spirit that was breathed into you from the beginning. As we come to the end of this journey, everything we have explored leads us back to one simple, powerful question. It is a question that has echoed quietly through every part of this message. A question that only you can answer for your own life. Who is leading you? Who is sitting in the center of your inner world right now? Who is giving direction to your thoughts, shaping your emotions, and guiding your choices? Is it the body, with all its cravings? Is it the soul, with all its emotions and memories? Or is it the spirit, the part of you that was created to carry truth, peace, and divine guidance? This question matters more than any other, because whoever leads you shapes the entire direction of your life. Whoever leads you determines how you respond to pain, how you rise from disappointment, how you make decisions, and how you walk through seasons of uncertainty. Whoever leads you becomes the anchor of your identity. So the question stands before you like an open door. Who is leading your life? As you reflect on that question, take a moment to look honestly inside yourself. Look at the choices you make every day. Look at the desires that pull on you. Look at the thoughts that fill your mind. Look at the places you turn to when you are overwhelmed or afraid. Which part of you are you feeding the most? The body, the soul, or the spirit? If your body receives the most attention, then its cravings may be the ones steering your direction. If your soul receives the most attention, then your emotions may be taking the lead even when you do not want them to. But if your spirit is the part you feed, the part you listen to, the part you nurture, then your life will begin to move with a clarity and peace that the world cannot imitate. Ask yourself gently, without judgment, which part of you has been guiding your steps? Has your soul been pulling you with its strong emotions, its old memories, or its familiar fears? Have your decisions been shaped more by instinct and feeling than by wisdom and truth? Or has your spirit been quietly leading you, giving you strength where the soul feels weak and peace where the soul feels turbulent? These questions are not meant to make you feel guilty. They are meant to open a door of understanding, because the truth is hopeful. The truth is full of possibility. Your story does not end with your current condition. No matter how long the body has been in charge, no matter how often the soul has pulled you into confusion, no matter how quiet the spirit has become, everything can change. This is the beauty of the design inside you. The spirit can live again. Even if it has felt silent or distant, it can reconnect to the source of life. It can breathe again. It can rise again. The spirit does not age. It does not weaken. It does not fade. When the spirit awakens, something inside you begins to realign. You begin to feel a kind of clarity that the soul alone could never produce. The soul can be healed. No matter how many wounds it carries, no matter how much fear or insecurity has built up, the soul can find restoration. The soul can find balance. It can find peace. It can release old patterns. It can let go of heavy stories. The soul was never meant to carry the weight of the world alone. Under the leadership of the spirit, it becomes steady and whole again, and the body can be disciplined. It can be trained to follow the right leader. It can be brought into alignment instead of running wild with cravings and impulses. The body can become a servant again, not a master. When the body follows the soul and the soul follows the spirit, the entire inner life becomes unified. This is what it means to live a complete life, a balanced life, a life led from the inside out. To help bring these truths into focus, let me share a story. It is the story of a man who had lived most of his life guided by the wrong leader. From the outside, he looked strong, confident, and successful. People respected him. They admired his accomplishments. They saw the polished version of his life, the version he showed the world. But inside, he felt tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from lack of sleep, but a deep tiredness that sits in the soul when it has been carrying too much for too long. His emotions controlled him without him realizing it. A single criticism could ruin his entire day. A hidden insecurity shaped every decision he made. He worked endlessly to prove something, although he did not know what. And when life became overwhelming, he escaped into distractions, thinking they would give him relief. They never did. One evening, after a particularly difficult week, he sat alone in the quiet of his home. The noise of the world had finally faded, but the noise inside him remained. Thoughts raced, emotions churned, his soul was exhausted. His body was tense, and his spirit felt like a distant echo, barely heard beneath the chaos. In that moment, for the first time in a long time, he became still, and in the stillness, something gentle rose inside him. It was not emotion, it was not thought, it was a presence, a whisper, a quiet sense of being called back to something he had forgotten. It felt like light rising inside a dark room. It was the spirit awakening again. That night, he made a simple decision. He decided to feed the spirit first. He opened himself to truth. He spent time in silence. He spoke honestly with God. He listened. He surrendered the parts of himself he could not control. And over time, something remarkable began to happen. His soul started to heal. The wounds that once guided his reactions began to lose their power. His emotions no longer dictated his identity. His mind became clearer. His will became stronger. And even his body responded. It became disciplined, steady, and aligned with the new leadership rising within him. It did not happen in a single moment. It happened gradually, like the slow rising of the sun into a dark sky. But every day, the spirit grew stronger, and the soul grew quieter. Eventually, his life became what it was meant to be, a life led from the deepest part of himself. This story is not unique. It is a picture of what can happen in every human being. It is a picture of what can happen in you. No matter where you are right now, no matter how tangled your inner world feels, the spirit can rise. It can lead. It can restore. And when it does, the soul finds peace and the body finds order. As we close this journey together, let me leave you with an invitation, not a command. If this message has touched something inside you, if it has awakened questions or stirred a longing for deeper clarity, do not ignore that feeling. It is the beginning of something meaningful. Share this video with someone who may feel lost or overwhelmed. Your simple action may become the moment that awakens someone else's spirit. And if you are drawn to the mysteries of the inner life, the wisdom of Scripture, and the quiet voice of the Spirit, stay connected. There are more journeys ahead, more truths to uncover, and more light waiting to rise within you. This is not the end. It is the beginning of a new way of living, a life led not by impulse or emotion, but by the Spirit within you.